All right, boys, one day closer. One day closer to Thanksgiving. One day closer to these huge rivalry games. But first, we got some action tonight.
Yes.
As we come down to the end. Love this time of year. It's kind of bittersweet, right? Because you have all these great matchups. The playoff picture is getting somewhat clearer. But that does mean we're in the last week of the regular season for college football.
Yep. There's a season for everything.
There is a season for
just
everything.
turns and changes. What's our down and distance today on Tuesday of rivalry week?
Look, the way I'm looking at it right now is it's a 2nd and 1. All right, we hit him for 9. Ran power, hit him for 9. It's time to take a shot.
Where are we at on the field, though?
We're let's say we got a decent return. Let's say we're at the 41.
Our own 41.
Our own 41.
Yeah.
We're taking a shot. We got the matchup on the outside we like. All right, like football's like the game of life.
I love
It's
that.
about matchups.
We're in minus territory, but we're right there near midfield. Can make a big
real?
play. Where are you at?
Extra point. Extra point. Hurry up. Let's go. Hurry up. Let's go.
You're not
on,
going
Dan
for,
Lanning's the
hold on.
Let's go for
You're not
4.
going for 2?
Two.
You're not going for 2?
Let's take a delay.
You wanna
Let's take a
know
delay game first. I want more room.
You want to
Let's
know
go for 2.
why Dan Lanning goes for 2? Because you can't go for 3.
That's a fact.
Michigan and Ohio State face off in a top 3 matchup this weekend in the Big House. Auburn takes on Alabama and Jordan-Hare in the Iron Bowl. And Jalen Hurts leads the Eagles to a win over the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I'm Jake Crane. It's Tuesday. Let's all throw one deep. Welcome to Crane & Company. All right, I need all Michigan and Ohio State fans to lock in with me for a second. Now, I know there's been a lot of lead up to this game on off-the-field stuff, obviously with the sign stealing and Harbaugh and Burgergate at the beginning of the year. But I want to let everybody know, this Saturday, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, Ohio, Michigan, there are no excuses. From the Ohio State perspective, was Michigan stealing signs? Probably. Most teams do, and they go about it different ways. But it's out in the open now. Harbaugh's already serving the sentence. That will not be an excuse this Saturday if it goes bad. On the Michigan side, if y'all lose, I want to hear anything about Jim Harbaugh being suspended. The man's been suspended half the year. This is basically the new normal. The real question is, which one of these teams is going to be able to move on in what is pretty much a de facto play-in game for the playoff? No, disrespect to the Big Ten West, but let's be honest, nobody's really scaring anybody to death over there. The only signs I want to hear about are the funny ones on game day and in the stands. The only stallions I want to hear about are the ones in the backfield for both teams. This is a showdown. This is pure, unadulterated hate. It's a top-shelf liquor rivalry, whether you're from the state of Ohio or whether you're from the state of Michigan. We're going to find out this Saturday who's really about it. Both teams have dealt with controversy. Both teams have dealt with adversity. But this Saturday, it's man on man. You're going to put your hand in the dirt, and you're going to go get after it, and we're going to find out who the best team really is. Now, at the end of this game, whether it's J.J. McCarthy making the plays, whether it's Kyle McCord making the plays, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Blake Corum running the ball, legends will be made, legends will be destroyed. But regardless of which team you root for, just remember rule number 76, no excuses, play like a champion. Bringing my co-host.
Pulling out the rule book this week?
Former Michigan, yeah, pulling out the rule book.
Wow.
Don't want to hear about it. It's all out in the open now in front of God and everybody. I'm going to bring in my brother, former Western Colorado wide receiver, Blaine Crane. David, when you look at this matchup right now, the spread on DraftKings Sportsbook, use promo code Crane, C-R-A-I-N, has Michigan minus 3.5 at home. The over-under's at 46.
It's a pick'em.
It's basically a pick'em. Right now, the money is on Ohio State. I'm hoping that line comes down to 2.5. But what is your feeling as a Michigan alum? Just tell me right now what's in your heart.
First of all, let me just say this is the best week of the year. This is the biggest game of the year. Rarely do I get emotionally invested in sporting events like I did when I was younger. This week is always different. And it starts from the time the clock ended last Saturday, and it starts for both teams. And the week is just different. And it's proof that you don't have to be steeped in this rivalry from a young age, because I was not. I'm from South Georgia. Yeah. But this is a school, the University of Michigan, that offered me a scholarship to come play football for them. All I ever wanted to do when I was little was play college football. They were the ones who believed in me. So I committed to that school. And my mom's from Columbus, Ohio. So the only thing I was steeped in this rivalry was from the other side, to be honest. But it's amazing that what Jim Harbaugh has been able to do to be able to get this rivalry back to the respect level. Because when you and I met, the Buckeyes had won 8 straight of these, and we were looking at each other saying, what in the world's going on here? Now, one decade, no one decade can determine the fate of a rivalry that's 130 years old. And I've talked about this with Kirk Herbstreit as well. It's like, hey, both sides want this to remain the greatest rivalry in sports, and they think that that's the case. But, when I look at all of this stuff that's gone on off the field here, when you talk about, advanced scouting and all the drama and all the name calling, all of it's going to fade away. High noon on Saturday is going to fade away, because you have 2 football programs here who understand, wow, this rivalry actually means something for the national landscape again, not just for us. So this will be the first time in history that the 2 teams have met undefeated back-to-back seasons, which is truly incredible. And like you said, a de facto play-in game. To me, it's all about the defenses, man. Michigan and OSU have the 2 best scoring defenses in the country. A large part of that are the teams that they're playing and the style of offenses that they're playing in the Big Ten. But regardless, Michigan's given up 99 points so far this year. OSU's given up 102. And if it weren't for that field goal late last week, they would have given up the exact same number of points. OSU has given up the fewest TDs in the country. Even last year, Jim Knowles, his first year at OSU as the DC, had the 24th best scoring defense, but we saw late in that game, running cover 0 against Michigan, they were able to break some big runs. But if you look back at the past 2 years when Michigan has won, OSU was up on Michigan 20-17 last year. Michigan made their halftime adjustments, blew them out, only gave up 3 points in the second half. Go back to 2021. It was a 14-13 game at halftime. Michigan made their halftime adjustments, won the second half 28-14. So I'm expecting a very close football game, especially for the first half, because that's what we've seen. Now, when it comes to halftime, I know Jesse Minter and that defense can go in, make the adjustments they need to make. But on the other side of it, how much of a loss is it going to be not having Jim Harbaugh over there? Not because any one play call or any one game decision going for a 4th down or a 2-point conversion, not because that necessarily is going to be different, but when Sharon Moore has had to be the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the offensive line coach for 3 games this year, Michigan's offense has not looked quite the same, and J.J. McCarthy has had a 55.4 QBR in those 3 games, 91.9 in the other games. So will he be able to go in and make the halftime adjustments he needs as the play caller when he's also holistically trying to be the head coach of the team?
No, it's a good question. I doubt Jim Knowles going to be playing any 0 coverage in this game after what happened to him last game. Really kind of cost him down the stretch. If you don't know what cover 0 is, it's just basically straight man across the board with no help. No help at all. One guy beats you deep, it's a wrap. We saw one guy makes one false step on defense and loses leverage. It's a touchdown offensively. I will say, I wonder, David, obviously Harbaugh's not going to be there, but how much has Michigan held for this game?
Yes.
Remember, against Penn State, they threw the ball one time in the second half, got a defensive pass interference, so it didn't even register. So, obviously there's going to be something in the tank for this one. They were very vanilla against Maryland. I just brought up Penn State. That's an aspect I'm really wanting to see. But it's basically the new norm now for this team this year, right?
Yep.
Not having Jim Harbaugh there. So, look, it's like Colonel Aldo Raine said, how do you get to the Grand Ole Opry? Practice.
I know there's a lot of people frustrated by some of the play calls and some of the decisions made the last 2 games. Like, are we really just going to run it every single play against Penn State? Are we really going to struggle down the stretch against Maryland? But, that just shows that tells me how much time you've spent around the game in your life to understand, because you can see it on the field.
You can watch it.
Michigan is clearly holding stuff back with this conservative play calling and not wanting to get guys hurt, which is a dangerous game against any team in the Big Ten. Mike Loxley and Maryland, you could wind up losing that game. They almost lost to Indiana last year, the game before, and OSU played a tight game the game before. So, look, this happens on both sides. You're going to see wrinkles. You're going to see stuff that's gotten set up every single week leading up to this game. Ryan Day as well. And, to me, J.J. McCarthy has regressed a little bit these past few weeks in terms of his accuracy down the field and his decision-making with trying to squeeze these balls in. But I'm not as worried about it because I've seen him deliver in the biggest moment in this game last year. And I think part of it, too, is just a lot of the turmoil that's gone on around the field. So both defenses are going to get after these quarterbacks. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to be the best football player on the field in a lot of ways. He's going to make some big plays. But, he was on that team last year with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I've seen him have Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. So they've proven to be able to clamp down on defense against some of the best receivers in the history of the rivalry. Is TJ Timoilau going to be able to get after J.J. McCarthy and really make his presence known? The Michigan front seven is proven to be elite. So all in all, I think we're in for a really good ball game.
Well, Blaine, the difference this year is J.J. McCarthy is the experienced quarterback coming into this game. The more experienced quarterback or kind of the more heralded quarterback. Here's the question I have. If you're Ohio State and you're Ryan Day, you've gone on the road and played Notre Dame with Kyle McCord. You've been in tough environments. Not the hardest schedule of all time. I think we can all agree on that. But how much do you let him ride in this game? Listen, we're going to throw it around. I don't think you can play it safe with Kyle McCord and survive this game in the Big House with the style that Michigan plays. Because I don't think Michigan's going to, run for 350 yards, but I call their offense smushy, and not in the bad way. They just smush you going forward, set up that play action, get JJ on the move. If you're Ryan Day, how open is this offense with Kyle McCord? How much trust are you putting in Kyle McCord on the road in his first, game in the game? Are you letting him sling that thing around or what?
Well, yeah, the defense will dictate what you need to do as the offense, obviously. But I do think since this game's on the road, you got to let him go a little bit. If this game was at home, I think you could play a little bit more conservative. But we all know what this is going to come down to. It's going to come down to the trenches in this football game. Mm-hmm. Whoever controls the line of scrimmage is going to open up their playbook a lot more and will have more success. Kyle McCord hasn't been looking great, but the last month and a half, he's looked okay. The Michigan's defense, what's your game plan here? Okay? 1, Ohio State's running back's back. He hadn't been healthy for this game in a while. Henderson, I believe, he's going to be a big piece. He's going to be a big piece. Do you double Marvin? All right, and that leaves it open to what? And Buka to maybe make some plays. He's looking healthy. He's looking good. If you control the line of scrimmage, you're not running on Michigan's defense. You look at 78 out there. That thing's haunt my nightmares when I go to sleep after you chase that kid down on the sideline.
Yeah, he ran that dude down.
It's disgusting.
I felt really good about the next World War.
I don't even want to talk about it. But then you flip it on the other side. I mean, Michigan, since Jim Harbaugh's been out, and I know they played one of the teams they played against Penn State, but that offense hasn't looked the same. JJ hasn't looked the same. So how much do you trust JJ in this game? All right. He's proved in big moments that he can show up, but he's thrown a couple passes these last couple games that I'm not used to seeing him throw. And there's certain mistakes you can't make in this game from a momentum side of this. All right. If Ohio State can catch the momentum early in this game, there's no way you need to try to come back in this game on the road in the Big House. It's going to be tough. Yep. So a couple keys. Set the line of scrimmage. Whoever can win the line of scrimmage is going to have a great chance in this football game. Whoever turns the ball over the least has a great chance in this football game. And who can get 7 instead of 3?
Yeah. And we always say this to kind of put a bow on it. We want to know what you think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We got call-ins. The line's going to open here at 7:15 a.m. Central, 8:15 a.m. Eastern. We always say this. Most teams lose games. They don't win them. But I think there's a balance in this one between playing it safe and playing it too safe, because these games typically come down to 3 to 5 plays, sometimes even less. Who gives up the special team score? Is there a block punt? Is there a kickoff return? Does something go wrong? Does somebody fumble a snap deep in their own territory? There is a fine line between playing it safe and playing it too safe. That's why I'm so intrigued to watch the way that these two teams go about it. I just want no excuses, like that one song. I can't remember the rapper's name. Again, we want to know what you think. And again, the line, it's at 3.5 in Michigan. To me, I'm going to see if this thing gets bet down. But if it doesn't get bet down, I'm going to buy it down a point, and I'm going to hammer Michigan at -2.5. I just trust JJ more than Kyle. At the end of the day, if everything else is even, I trust JJ McCarthy more than I do Kyle McCord. I'm not going to touch the total, the over 46, under 46. Obviously, I know where you're leaning.
Well, of course. Look, I'm always going to be biased in who I pull for to win this game, but I'm not ever going to be biased in just what I see and trying to be as objective as possible when it comes to what the two teams have when they're facing off with each other. I've never since I've been affiliated with the rivalry, I've never seen Michigan favored on the Vegas odds before. So it's really unusual to see that, and your head coach is suspended. That is wild to me. Look, I think we're in for a really close game. The over-under is the one that I really don't know about. Initially, I thought, well, over. over, because we've seen that the last 2 years. And like you said, I think both offenses have been saving something up for this game. Then you see, well, they're the number 1 and 2 scoring defenses in the country. But you say a lot of times when you have a defensive matchup, sometimes that line gets lower. You bet the over. So I would lean over on this. But look, it could be a Notre Dame OSU repeat. Like a 17-10 type game, and I would never be surprised.
Well, there's a caveat on that one thing you said about the defense, unless it's Iowa. There's a caveat.
Just wait till my best bets
26.5 Iowa, Nebraska right now. And to be honest with you, the under looking mighty juicy. Blaine, is there a number you like in this game?
Over-under is at 43.5.
46.
46.5.
46.
That just doesn't feel like enough to me. It
Really?
really doesn't. Look, Michigan's going to take some shots. Ohio State's going to take some shots. This is going to be this is a national championship for both these teams. All right, they're not. Michigan's not going to only throw it one time in the second half.
No,
I like the over in this game. I for sure like the over.
We'll see. Well, look, whatever you like, you need to make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. They've got everything. And look, it doesn't even have to be college football, even though there's some incredible matchups. We've got the NFL going on. We got college basketballs kicking off. Was watching the Maui tournament last night. Obviously, we got the NHL. We got the NBA. It's a little bit of everything. So if you want to get into sports betting or you're trying to find that perfect sports book, well, we got the answer for you. It's the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download it now and use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, because new customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score $150 instantly in bonus bets. That's only on DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code BOOSTER, BOOSTER. Remember, with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. And if you're not into betting football, they have a ton of other stuff as well. But speaking about a ton of other stuff, we got a brand new hoodie. Had a bunch of people buy it yesterday. We're going to throw the link in the chat. If you want to, look, we all know you're in the trust tree, but the true Booster Club members, they got the hoodie. It's a great Christmas present. It's light, not too heavy. I know we're in the colder time of year, but this is one you can wear during the spring as well. It really helps out the show. We'd appreciate it. The link is going to be in the chat. We can put it in the description as well. Make sure you go grab one of those. The prices are fantastic as well. All right, let's get to the Booster Club.
Hey, if you pay a little extra too, David will come with it, just like
Yeah, he will. He'll show up to your house with it on.
Well, we'll talk about a price.
I'm not disappointed that you think that I can be bought. I'm disappointed that you think I'm so cheap.
Well, I understand that. Let's go to Eddie, hashtag CNC. What's up, Eddie? Who's going to be that player nobody's talking about that will make the difference in the game? Always somebody you don't think of turns out to be the hero.
I just got a sneaking suspicion it's going to be somebody on defense for Michigan is going to make a huge play.
Like Will Johnson?
Yeah, like I actually feel like it's a defensive line interception.
Okay.
Like somebody picks one on the D-line and runs it in for a touchdown. It just feels like one of those games, whether it's a tip pass, something like that. I just feel like somebody on that defensive line, could be a scoop and score or whatever, is going to be the hero. The score to put it away, I think, is going to be a defensive touchdown.
I'm interested to see how the Buckeyes use Cade Stover. How is he involved in the pass game? We've seen some games where it's like, hey, he's the primary wide receiver sometimes when Marvin Harrison's getting bracketed. And then there's other games where he won't have a target for several quarters in a row. So how is Cade Stover involved in the game plan, especially in the red zone when, like Blaine said, you got to turn 3 points into 7 points?
Oh, look, he also had in too, Colson Loveland.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
He's been a big piece for y'all
awesome
too. So I think
he caught a big touchdown last year in this game in the second half on that branch nod route that we broke down in the huddle up segment. Huge play for Michigan.
God, doesn't that just sound like a tight end name? Colston Loveland.
Colston Loveland.
So Loveland.
If you literally just came up to me out of nowhere and said that, I'd be like, tight end.
Yeah,
probably somewhere in the Big Ten.
It fits.
It does.
So Zoki Andrew says, how much different would the spread be if Harbaugh was on the sideline?
I think it's a fantastic question. I think it's a field goal difference. Do you guys disagree?
I think you're right. It basically takes it from, you think it'd be 6.5? You think they'd have Michigan minus 6.5?
My buddy Chris was looking at the line the other day while we were watching Michigan play Maryland, and he was finding books that had Michigan minus 6. And I was shocked. I was like, there's no way. And he was showing.
And they knew Harbaugh was going to be
that now, and they already knew that. That's what was interesting. That's why I was getting confused when he was showing me the lines that he was pulling up. And plus, that just seemed like a lot anyway. To me, it feels like a field goal difference. That's why I say, even as it sits here minus 3.5, I think it's more of a pick 'em.
Well, I'm gonna fall somewhere in the middle. I think minus 5.5.
Okay.
That's what I think, somewhere 5.5. I think you get up to 6.5. I'm interested to see if it keeps getting bet down. I think it opened above 3.5. And like I said, right now, I'm looking at it in live time here on Tuesday morning at 6:49 a.m. Central. And Ohio State, it's -115 with them at +3.5. Obviously, that hook, people are gonna take it at 3.5. We'll see if it gets down to 2.5. What else we got?
Let's get a $5 donation from old Jimbo here. In this year's halftime performance for the Ohio State-Michigan game in Ann Arbor, we need Ryan Day to fight Lou Holtz on the 50-yard line. Let's get it. What are the odds and who wins?
Hey, first off, Ryan Day would punch Lou Holtz into dust. But what I really want to see, I'll beat their ass.
That'll be Ryan Day.
I want to see Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day fight.
Come on, let's go at it.
Let's do. You talk about great. You talk about not changing the channel.
Did you hear Jim Harbaugh yesterday when he was asked?
Use that Ted Lasso joke.
That was the mom's bathing suit.
Yeah.
That was at a different point in his press conference, but he was asked, we should actually pull this clip this week.
The respect, do you respect Ryan Day?
There's a lot of respect historically between.
And he just gave an answer. He's like, well, I love our preparation.
How much respect do you have even before that, they said, how much respect do you have for Ryan Day and his staff? Yeah, look, where we are is
focus on the preparation.
See,
and then he talked about preparation.
At this point, just say how you really feel about it. It's not going to piss anybody off anymore. You're already suspended for the game. Like I think Ryan Day's a rat. That's
yeah,
what I think
and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, you would think Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes hated each other, but really they were talking every week, and Bo went.
I don't know. This don't feel like
Bo
that.
went to Woody's funeral and was like a pallbearer or something. Like
same thing with Pat Dye and Bear Bryant.
This feels different for you. Yeah, that's a good one.
I feel like if one of them went to the other's funeral, it'd be that one picture of the guy in the sunglasses who like showed up at his. He's like, I showed up to my hater's funeral, whatever, something like that. That's what it feels like.
You show up and tell him to walk it off?
It'd be out of, you walk it off.
Well, let's go to Dom, #AskCranico. What's up, Dom? If Marvin Harris is getting doubled, I feel like Mbuka will have a great day. Would you rather lean him or Stover to have a bigger day in this game?
I think it just depends. Are we going by yardage or in the red zone? That's where I think Stover his value just increases a ton because it's just a tough matchup. It's like a shooting guard trying to rebound against a power forward. It's just tough, right? Physics, it's science. I think yardage-wise, Mbuka, obviously, but from a touchdown, from a value in the red zone perspective, I think it's Cade Stover. He's the best Stover since Russell. But I want to move on to the Iron Bowl, another incredible rivalry we get this week. Regardless of what happened last week. I was on with Andy Staples from On3 yesterday, and Andy does a really good job over there. And we're talking about, is the New Mexico State loss is like the worst thing that could have happened for Alabama? It's awful for Auburn. The optics are absolutely terrible. But in this game, if you've ever followed the Iron Bowl at all, especially at Jordan-Hare, just weird things happen in general. There's going to be a lot of people that the spread's at 14.5 right now. There's going to be a lot of people that are writing Auburn off because of last week. And I get it. It makes sense. I know Jerry Kill in New Mexico State, and then they got a good football team, but you shouldn't lose New Mexico State at home if you're Auburn. But it's amazing how these rivalry games, especially, this in-state one, guys kind of play above board. Auburn finds a way to hang in these games. When you're looking at the keys, David, and you look at this Auburn team who's got one 4-star blue chip guy starting on offense, one. Alabama, I think, is like 90%. It's ridiculous. They don't have a bunch of 2 stars and 3 stars running around. But this game kind of elevates you. If you're Auburn, what do you have to do to be able to not only stay in this game, but win this game?
Well, I think you're exactly right about the loss to New Mexico State. And if that had been a bad football team, maybe we'd be talking about something different. But that was a good team, right? It's just, it looks bad optically. Like
the brand
isn't. About. Exactly. Yeah. So you have an Auburn team that up to that point was kind of like playing better, getting better, had some big wins, big win over Arkansas. Then all of a sudden you have a loss that looks bad optically, but still that was a good football team who was ranked ahead of you in some polls like we talked about last week. Now all of a sudden you're going to play your biggest rival, one of the greatest rivalries in the history of sports, and you get them at home where I've seen like less talented Auburn teams, I feel like, beat more talented Alabama teams.
TJ Finley almost beat Bryce Young.
That game, how many that was an overtime game? That was a triple overtime or something? Or?
No, it was Bama won that one in regulation. No, it was. I'm trying to remember how many
right?
It was
4 overtimes.
They let Bryce Young go 95 yards
in a year where I think the spread was probably bigger than it is now, and you thought Alabama was going to blow them out even worse. So my question is is Auburn going to be able to have the same success on the ground like they did against Georgia with the lateral run game and up the middle, like the play action off speed sweep, all that kind of stuff? And will Peyton Thorne rise to the occasion in a game like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, Blaine, you look at the matchups on the outside. I mean, Auburn receivers, let's be honest, they've been bad. They've been pretty bad, and you're going up against NFL DBs. But again, this game has a way of evening things out. I've watched kick sixes. I've watched 100-yard interceptions returns that hit the back of Najee Harris. You see crazy things. The question is there enough magic? Is there enough voodoo in Jordan-Hare and that stadium, right? And Jalen Milroe, first time he's played in this game, right? Going on the road. For Auburn to hang around to have a chance, because they've got a lot of stuff's got to go right, all right? A lot of stuff's got to go right. How do you kind of see it going?
I don't think Auburn can win this game, but I think Bama can lose it. That's why it's Milroe's first time coming in this game. It's different, man. It's different when you get in here. You're getting Jordan-Hare. Just like the vibe, the feeling is different. It's a weird place to go play. Turnovers. Bama's still been a heavily penalized team this year. Turnovers, penalties, and prayers. That's what Auburn needs. All right. That's what Auburn needs.
Prayers.
Peyton Thorne. Look, he needs. What's the James Franco villain in Spider-Man?
You about the Green Goblin?
The Green Goblin. We need one of those little masks sitting on a trash can talking to Peyton Thorne, just getting in his head every day. And Hugh, all right, we talk about being conservative, having plays just for the Ohio State-Michigan game. Whatever secret plays you have, all right, whatever's in that little green book, okay, it needs to come out Saturday, all right? Whatever witchcraft, WoW, World of Warcraft, Your Highness plays that you have, we're going to need it, all right? Because this is a damn good Alabama football team. Caleb Downs is the best freshman I've seen in a long time. Milroe has to blow it. That's what he has to do. You have to force him to pass. One, you got to keep him in the pocket. If there's not a guy on that Auburn defense that can tackle him in space. There's not. And two, you have to make him throw it and force him into mistakes. Other than that, it's almost the Adam Sandler thing on the soundboard, all right? Somebody kill me, please.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure when you talk about kind of opening the bag up, right, and going deep in the bag, it's not just the bag of tricks, right? You can go out there and run a reverse every 2 plays and throwbacks and do stuff like that. You're kind of playing with fire. It's being unpredictable. It's pitching backwards. It's not being afraid to throw on first down. You have got to find a way to somehow keep this Alabama defense off balance. I think Bama's going to score. It's going to be very hard with the way this offense is now tailored to Jalen Milroe and kind of the way that they're developing and how good their offensive line is. And I know Jalen McLeod and some of these guys have come on in the pass rush, and I don't expect Auburn to get just absolutely stuffed by the offensive line in Alabama. But again, the keys to me, you have to stop the run game from Alabama. Mm-hmm. I think Auburn can do that.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen this Alabama offensive line throughout the year. I know they've continued to get better. Struggle to run the ball at times. If you can make them predictable, you can get them in predictable passing downs. Ron Roberts, we talk about a bag of tricks on offense. Ron Roberts is basically Joe Exotic when it comes to blitzes. All right, he'll be dropping guys out of helicopters. Guys will be burrowing underground. I know he's got a lot saved up for this, a lot of different looks for Jalen Milroe, whether that's showing pressure and bringing, it's not just one thing. It's not just heating him up the whole game. We talk about this all the time. It's showing him a lot and giving him a lot of different variations, right? But it starts with stopping the run. If you can stop the run, I think it gives you a chance. But what cannot happen, what will absolutely gut you, and is one of the most tough things to deal with on defense, is you stop them on first down, right? 2nd and 8. You stop them on 2nd down, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. You got them locked up in the back end because Auburn's secondary is pretty good. That's the strength, in my opinion, of their defense. You lock them up, and then all of a sudden, Jalen Milroe squirts through and runs for 8, and all of a sudden, you get a first down. It's just demoralizing. Auburn's going to have to start quick. You're going to have to catch some breaks. Auburn's a 14.5-point underdog at home right now. The money is on them to cover that 14.5. I like them to cover that 14.5. Yeah. The over-under is 48.5. I would lean over if I had to take a total, but I think the plus 14.5 to me is probably the best bet there. To be honest with you, I don't think I'm going to bet this game. This is not one of the best bets on the board for me. I know we're going to get to that in a little bit. But if you're Auburn, it's going to take everybody.
Yeah, and don't overrush Jalen Monroe on the pass.
Yeah, can't run by him.
You cannot overrush him from the edges. You've got to stay in front. Even if that doesn't equal sacks, just try and keep him in front and make him throw from the pocket, in which case I still think you have to lean Alabama because the progression that this kid has made from being benched against South Florida to leading this Alabama Crimson Tide team to already playing in the SEC championship and winning the division has been truly incredible. But you're definitely not going to stand a chance if that first read's not there for them and he's going through his progressions and all of a sudden you've overrushed him and he sees a gap and he takes off for 8, like you said, or 80, because he can do that too.
No. You got to spy him the whole game. You got to spy him the whole game. You got to.
Yeah, I mean.
You don't have another choice. Unless you're just going to just show different blitzes. If it's me, I'm lining almost everybody up at the line of scrimmage and we're moving. I need him to be right.
This can't be a single order for Auburn on either side of the ball. It's got to be a buffet. You've got to give them a bunch of different stuff. It can't just be I'm a spy him the whole game. It can't just be I'm a blitz him the whole game. It can't just be I'm gonna rush 3 the whole game. It's got to be the whole bag. He ought to have to look at every single play. Even if you're showing the same thing pre-snap and then giving different results, that is just as effective, if not more effective, to me to keep him getting a beat off of you because there's really not a tell there. It's not one single thing. Right? It is a multitude of things. And I think that's what you're going to see from Ron Roberts. And again, if something is working, you're going to go to that more.
Yeah.
But there is not one answer. This is not multiple choice with one answer. This is multiple choice where all the answers are right. You just want to find the best one of them. So that's what I'm looking at in this game. How much do you mix it up? How much do you pitch backwards on offense? If you're Alabama and you go in there and play well, you're probably not losing.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you can't score if you're Auburn.
That's very true.
It doesn't matter. You dropped 10 points against New Mexico State.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even make it to the red zone in 4 quarters against New Mexico State. But sometimes, sometimes you go out there for basketball and you shoot 1 for 18 from 3.
Yeah, and then the next game,
you wake up
45%.
And you shoot 50%.
Yeah, that's how it works. All right, we're going to get back to the Booster Club in a second. Those phone lines are opening up in about 14 minutes. But regardless, if you're an Auburn fan, if you're an Alabama fan, if you're an Ohio State fan, if you're a Michigan fan, starting a business can be tough. Especially knowing how to run your online storefront. Talk about this all the time. I have guys that reach out to me, hey, I want to start a podcast. How do I get all this stuff lined up? It's a lot more in-depth, and that's just for podcasts. This is just in general. A lot more in-depth than what people think until you do it. But thanks to Shopify, it's easier than ever. What is Shopify, David? It's a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage all the way to the did we just hit a million order stage, Shopify is there to help you grow. They're there every day to help sell merchandise. With us, they're fantastic. They make it so easy. I want to be able to worry about this, narrow my focus on stuff that's going on in the sports world because there's so much of it, and that's where Shopify helps us. And if you hear the sound, hit that beautiful button, David. We rich, yo.
Money.
That means you made another sale. So sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Crane, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/Crane, CRAIN, all lowercase, now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. That's shopify.com/Crane. Trust me on this one. All right, let's get back to the Booster Club quickly.
All right, Alan Cruz says you're definitely going to need this to beat Bama. Elite QB play and elite receiver play, which Auburn hasn't had the entire year.
Again, I don't care if you're the starting slot receiver, or you're the starting corner, or you're the guy selling hot dogs, or you're one of the trainers. Everybody's going to have to play good Saturday. That's what it's going. This is going the ultimate team ever. All the mojo that Auburn has saved up on that pet cemetery, witchcraft and wizardry center that is Jordan-Hare needs to go into this one. Because you talk about a race and a loss, you find a way to win this one. New Mexico,
lost
what?
To who?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it is going to be an uphill battle. This is a very quality Alabama team. I do like that plus 14.5, though. It seems like a lot of points to me. I mean, it feels like almost a backdoor at worst. But honestly, you know what it feels like? And I don't want to get too far in the Pick'em show. It feels like Auburn plays it close and loses it at the end. That's what it feels like to me. Because that's probably what
feels like Auburn money line, doesn't it?
I don't know about that.
What's that smell?
Smells like Thanksgiving cooking.
You hear this sound?
Oh, you
on Auburn
money line.
Yeah.
Cha-ching.
You really rich.
All right, let's go to Texas Ed. He says Auburn does not gap sound, so Milroe will have space to take off on design runs. Do you think Alabama will get Milroe out of the pocket for this game?
No, I think Auburn's actually pretty good against the run. That's really been one of their strengths. It's the rushing the passer part that worries me, right? With this Alabama offensive line, they're massive. That worries me more than the run game. Look, I think you're going to get a similar game plan, right? Alabama's got to win out to make the playoff. Right? And obviously, they've made the conscious effort to tailor the game plan to Jalen Milroe's strengths. I think that's what you're going to get this game. I think you're going to get the same thing you've got in the past couple games, and that's him being in this kind of wide-open offense. They're going to move the pocket. They're going to have quarterback design runs, especially in the red zone. You're going to get the RPO. You're going to get the zone read. You're going to get the play-action shot. I expect it to be a lot like what we've seen the past couple games.
All right, let's go to White Boy Magic. #
7 days a week.
Company, a.k.a. Lab McConkey. It says Washington and Oregon would blow out Bama, Ohio State, and FSU. Tell me how I'm wrong. To be honest with you, that's probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Look, not saying that I think Washington or Oregon could have a chance to win any one of those games, but I don't think there'd be a blowout on either side. I think Washington kind of proved that with that grimy win again against Oregon State. This isn't just your finesse Washington team that wants to throw it around and be pretty and be cute. They can win a rock fight, too. Or Dan Lanning's building an SEC team at Oregon that he's about to take to the Big Ten. So it wouldn't surprise me if either one of those games were tight. I don't think it'd be a blowout either way. To be honest with you, I want to see that. I can't wait to see it. The reason I'm the most excited about it is because I don't think it would be a blowout because there's more teams this year that can be competitive at the top.
Let's go to UT parking. Hope you found that parking spot, brother. He says Alabama is about to do some Mortal Kombat-ish to Auburn this Saturday. We got a problem, dog?
No, well, look, I don't think that's a crazy take, right? Alabama is a double-digit favorite on the road. They are a better team than Auburn as Hugh Freeze is building Auburn. But again, if you've kept up with this rivalry at all, weird stuff happens in this game. Now, if this was at Alabama, I'd put the win on Bama.
Oh, God.
Are you kidding me? I'd back the Brinks truck up to it.
Yeah.
But this is in Jordan-Hare, right? And Auburn can just counting crows, hang around. It could get weird at the end. All right,
I'm going to ask you something really quick. How creative does Auburn get in special teams in this game? Kick returns, maybe a globe kick return, a fake reverse kick return, write a letter, put a little poison on it.
I think it depends on how the game's going. Like if it's tight back and forth, I don't think you take that risk unless it dictates it, right? Because Alabama going into this game, they're going to dot all their I's and cross all their T's. They know Auburn's got to do something. They know Auburn needs a little extra somewhere. So if you're the special teams guy, you are screaming about fakes this week. I would not be shocked if you saw Alabama go safe on punt return, even in situations where it's not necessarily close to midfield.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised at that at all. Whether that's a fake reverse on kickoff return, yeah, that's fine. Whether it's the dual punt returners out there, but I think when it comes to fakes, whether it's punt, whether it's a surprise onside kick on kickoff, I know Bama's going to be screaming kickoff return, right? Got to see the ball leave the tee. Can work and stack back and get ready to block. But it depends on how the game is going. If you feel like you really need it and the opportunity is there, hell yeah, right? It's the Bourbon Bowl. You can't hold anything back, man. But you don't want to go out of your way to do anything that may put a close game in jeopardy if you are able to go out there and almost play it straight up and stay in this game.
All right, let's go to Brandon Hilton. Switch it up a little bit here with a $2 donation. Brandon, appreciate it, brother. He says, what's next for Miami after this disappointing season?
Look, I don't think anything is going to happen with Mario. Obviously, you're looking toward the future. That looks like, it's not going to be there with Tyler Van Dyke. I like the Emory Williams kid, the way he came in. I liked his toughness. You want to know the reason I have faith in Miami? It's because their offensive line is so talented and they're so young. Mario Cristobal knows how to build the trenches. Now he needs to learn when to take a damn knee, right? You need to understand that. But I'm not ready to push Mario off the cliff at Miami. They're still in the building stage, right? And you see what Mike Norvell has done at Florida State.
Yep.
And I think Mario kind of gets a bad rap a little bit, and a lot of it is self-inflicted. You can go back to the knee thing. He's done that twice. There's some questionable decisions, but I think Dan Lanning makes questionable decisions as a head coach. But I know Miami will be good up front. I know Miami will have cats that can run, and that brand is built on physicality. What I'm interested to see with Miami is what happens with the ACC. That's what I'm interested to see, because if all of a sudden, and you saw a little bit of this on social media yesterday, if you got this big departure from the ACC like some people are hinting at, where does that leave Miami at? So I'm waiting to see that. But look, I think Mario, he's going to build it from the inside out. He understands that. I don't think it is disaster time or panic time. You don't have to turn into Jodie Foster and go to your panic room if you're a Miami fan right now. Now, after, next year, we'll see at the quarterback position, but that offensive line ought to be so good. That run game, that play-action game, I don't think it's panic time.
You just need to go recruit at a high level.
Yeah.
And it's harder and harder to do that when you go look at that stadium and it's empty. I mean, it's empty sometimes in Miami, even during big games. So that's something that was not the case when I was growing up.
Yeah. All right, let's get to rapid fire. Then we'll get to our best bets and open up the phone lines. Open up here in 5 minutes. Remember, if you call in and you're on hold, when we take a call, it should open up a line. I have a ton of people that messaged me, hey, I tried to get in today. I called once and couldn't get in. We love it that the lines are full. Thank you. But when we take a call, it opens up a line. David, what do we got?
All right, let's do it. We had a big matchup in the NFL last night. The Kansas City Chiefs hosted the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles didn't allow a point in the second half. They were down 17 to 7 at halftime. They end up winning the game 21-17. Jalen Hurts leads them back. Your thoughts?
Well, a lot of people are going to point to the Valdez-Scantling drop, and that was a bad drop. You get paid too much to drop that ball. This is the NFL. But if you watch the Eagles in the first half, and really honestly, for most of the game, their offensive line looked inept against the Chiefs, right? It was weird because it was like, and this was a little bit this way for both teams. It was like the run game was working, but the pass protection was awful. So what did the Eagles do in the second half? Screen. I think I counted 5 screens in a row on their scoring drive. The one he ended up hitting Devontae Smith in on that little switch release down at the end. Here's my thing, though. If I'm a Chiefs fan, if we're going to lose to the Eagles, let's do it during the regular season.
Sure.
I would much rather lose the regular season game and win the Super Bowl. But the Eagles, this is a nice boost, right? You lose the Super Bowl to the Chiefs. Jalen Hurts, once again, just no emotions, right? You see him sitting on the sideline. Even at the Super Bowl last year, it's like a good pitcher in baseball. You can never tell if he's 5 runs up or he's 5 runs down. But this story is not over. The final chapter has not been written in this one. I just continue to wonder. I mean, the Chiefs, the amount of drops they had yesterday, including even the fans after the game when Patrick Mahomes threw him a piece of merch, whatever it was. He dropped that one too. But look, Travis Kelce last night, did have the touchdown, but really didn't look like himself. They loved the Justin Watson guy. Holy hell.
Yeah.
I mean, Blaine, the Chiefs are 7-3, and the Patrick Mahomes-Andy Reid combination is one of the greatest of all time. That's true greatness, right? And there's a trust factor there when it gets to the postseason. But let's not act like they don't have some deficiencies. I mean, they don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. They don't have a true number 2 wide receiver if we're not even counting Travis Kelce, who himself is getting nothing but older, even though he has balled in several games this year. One interesting thing, though, is the Chiefs' defensive side of the ball is outplaying the offense in a lot of these games here in the middle of the season.
Yeah, without Nick Bolton, too. First of all, I've said this, and I'll keep saying this. Taylor Swift will be the death of the Chiefs, and I'm not surprised by this. She's the leader of the Illuminati, and we all know it. But I still think how the Chiefs won the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill is one of the best jobs Andy Reid's ever done.
That roster they won it with last year is ridiculous.
It's one of the best jobs Andy Reid's ever done. And look, I mean, Patrick Mahomes can only do much. He can't throw it to himself, which Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked the same. I think that red zone pick was bad. Patrick was overthrowing a lot of footballs we're not seeing, but you still see flashes of it. That corner round on 3rd and 9 was just an absolute dime.
That was buttery.
It was an absolute dime, but there's problems, and I think it starts in the receiver room. Rashid's a great piece. I think they need to start getting him the ball more. Pacheco is running away from his pass. Like I saw Jake tweet that, phenomenal tweet. He's a great back, but if you're going to lose, you're going to lose now. But let's go flip it over to the Eagles. First of all, one thing really quick, L'Jarius Sneed. What a day, son. What a day, son. The corner from the Chiefs. I'm going to get to A.J. Brown in fantasy. I was up 9 points with nobody. He had
to make the playoff.
A.J. Brown to make the playoff. A.J. Brown had 1 catch for 8 yards. But this is at the end of the day, all right? Jalen Hurts makes big plays when it matters most. You got to think of this receiving core they have. I know AJ had a bad day, but you have Devontae Smith, who won the Heisman in college, who's an absolute dog. You saw that slot fade. Devontae, if you're going to guard him one-on-one with no safety over the top, that's what's going to happen. But the quarterback run game was huge for the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts looked great on that, the QB power, and also the screen game to Swift. They hit a couple of those on third down. So right now, if you're the Eagles, your offensive line is getting better. You're now healthy. You haven't been healthy in like 4 weeks. Some deficiencies, but you got to believe in those guys. The receivers are there. Jalen Hurts coming off a knee, all right, it's starting to look a lot better. But you got to think, the Chiefs are going to show up when it matters the most. Mm-hmm. Well, they always do. And I do think they need to start playing a game of how many times can we give Kadarius Toney the ball.
Well, again, having said all that about the deficiencies with the Chiefs, Marquez Valdez-Scantling had the ball in his hands to basically take the lead with 1 minute and 20 seconds. I don't know what happened after that. It's the NFL. But despite all those deficiencies, despite the roster being what it is right now on the outside, they still had a chance to win the game. When it comes down to it, I trust Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. And the fact that the defense is ahead of the offense right now for the Chiefs, with the trust I have in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, may not be the worst thing of all time if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
All right, I want to move on and talk about this New York Post article about Joe Namath. So the headline read, Jets legend Joe Namath accused of allowing child sex abuse at his football camp. This broke this week. Now, that was the headline, okay? With the word allowing in there is particularly troubling. Then I went through and read this article twice here, 2 different times. A couple snippets are this guy, Philip Lyle Smith, who's 64 years old, recently told the Post about a horrific ordeal at one of Joe Namath's instructional football camps. This was in 1972, so this is 51 years ago. And he's speaking publicly for the first time as he detailed claims about an ongoing sexual predator who was a well-known Brooklyn poly prep football coach. This guy, Philip Fogaletta, something like that, who's already passed away, who's already died, who's already was convicted of being a pedophile. So that much we at least know. But I went through and read the article here, and there was absolutely zero evidence presented that Joe Namath knew anything about this or tried to cover anything up. I wanted to see what you guys thought.
Well, yeah, I read it too, and I agree with you. I believe in due process, right? I want all the facts to come out before I typically opine on something like this. But just kind of my instinct and my gut tells me, it was Joe Namath's football camp, right?
Yes.
That's what it was, and his name was on it. And if you know how these camps work, like, I don't think Joe Namath, if it's like any other camp with any big-time celebrity that I've seen, whether they be an athlete, something like, or anything else in the entertainment industry, they're not really there for the inner workings of what's going on. They show up, they make an appearance, they sign stuff, you go out and eat food and hang out with guys. You were talking to somebody that that's close to the situation. I'm going to let all the facts come out, but I just don't think Joe Namath is the type that's exactly hands-on when it comes to this. Is awful, number one. I mean, you know what I think about that. I don't think it's any secret what any of us think about that situation. But I think the word allowing there, like you said, without any concrete evidence that Joe Namath had any idea this was going on, or that Joe Namath just showed up, right? If something happens in Walmart like this, they don't go and say Sam Walton allowed this. Just because he's the one who started it, right? Or he had been to that Walmart one time. I just have a hard time, regardless of what you think about Joe Namath, I just instinctually have a hard time feeling he knew the inner workings of what was going on in that camp enough to be allowing this.
I saw a lot of people yesterday talking about the fact that this was 51 years ago and you have statute of limitations. Again, the statute of limitations, that can only help you in, the legal justice system, not in God's justice system. Like if somebody still did something morally wrong, I'd like to know about it no matter how long after the fact it was. But I talked to my father-in-law yesterday, Richard Todd, who you guys know. He played with Joe Namath at the Jets. He said, I was president at a lot of these camps. I would show up, like Joe would show up, shake hands, take some pictures with the campers, and then we'd all go out and eat, to think that Joe Namath would understand the logistical bunking arrangements between all of the coaches and the kids.
That's just hundreds of kids
every week. They bring them in, and then this guy, and I absolutely hate what happened to this guy because this clearly affected him in a very negative way. At the age of 12 years old, like the pedophile guy in this situation, there's no layer of hell deep enough to send him to.
I agree.
And that much cannot be argued. It troubles me to see Joe Namath's name being brought up into it when there's no evidence right now of a correlation, and to draw some parallel between Joe Paterno and the Jerry Sandusky case. When Joe Paterno, there's evidence that says he knew about this, talked to the AD, talked to the president, and then collectively they decided not to act on it. That's a very different situation to me, and it's unacceptable.
If it came out that somebody came up to Joe Namath and said, "Hey, this is happening,"
and then he still brings the guy back.
That's a different story. Yeah. But I want to let it play out. But just off the cuff, just instinctually, Joe Namath doesn't feel like the type of guy that they would even go to and say, "Hey, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening," whatever. But again, we'll let the evidence come out. It's a horrible story. Yeah. Either way, that's awful. And it's sick and twisted. But I have a hard time believing that Joe Namath knew exactly what was going on. But we'll see. Who knows?
All right, unless you have anything on this.
Well, I just don't know why it takes 51 years for this stuff to come out. I just don't understand it. I'll never understand it. Like, dude, if something happened, like, you need to come out and say it. Like, I mean, you need to come out and tell as many people as you can so you can get this handled. But you wait 50 years for it to come out?
I know it's skeptical to look at, but some people, they don't approach it that way. Like, you have a bunch of people that are victims of certain things that don't want to talk about it, whether they're out of fear of what the person who did it to him, or out of embarrassment for letting other people know that this happened to him. There's a lot of different reasons. So I get what you're saying. You would think eventually, but there's a lot of reasons why people don't. We see this in domestic cases with women who are afraid to come out and say, "My husband's beating the heck out of me," because they're scared to death because they got to go back home. Like, it just, again, I wonder how long ago that guy died. That's the Fogoletti guy that got accused of.
I have it right.
He was
here.
in 98. So, like, to me, if you're going to have a problem with it, if it's not embarrassment of the situation, which, again, if it's a horrible thing that happened to somebody, 98, wait until 2023, I can understand that. But there's a lot of reasons why people don't come forward about certain things. And it's just the kind of human nature.
Yeah, and look, if evidence changes in this case, obviously
I'll be the first one
brought up, and we'll see what happens. Last thing for rapid fires, we got to huddle up.
Hey, let's huddle up, boys.
Let's huddle up. David Cohn, let's do it.
All right, huddle up. Let's take a look at this fourth quarter touchdown pass for Quinn Ewers and the Texas Longhorns. This is pistol, double rip close, waggle 117 switch, Y leak rail. Let's break it down. We have one running back and two tight ends. So this is 12 personnel in a formation that we're going to call pistol, double rip close. So the halfback aligns directly behind the quarterback. We're going to send both of our tight ends to set the strength to the right, and both of our wide receivers go opposite. Waggle 117, this is our play action pass protection, and switch Y leak rail is our route concept. Now watch how all of this marries together perfectly. Our waggle action here, we're going to be faking run to the left. That's for the offensive line and for the halfback, and the quarterback is going to sell bootleg back to the field. Now our switch concept here, the number 2 X receiver is on a post route. Number 1 is going to switch with him and run the through route to the field. Our hip tight end is going to run that corner route to the field. So everything for the secondary is looking like we're going to run flood to the field, and everything for the linebackers looks like we're going to set up for a throwback screen to the boundary. So what does Steve Sarkisian do? He adds a tight end leak here versus man coverage. The Y is going to delay off the line of scrimmage, run his shallow cross. He gets lost here in man coverage, and that alone would equal a big play. But that's not enough. Our tight end's going to turn his shallow cross into a wheel route because we've already cleared out the defenders with our switch concept against man coverage. This is a beautiful play design by Steve Sarkisian. It was probably set up weeks ago earlier in the season. Big execution for Quinn Ewers as well. This is 12 personnel, pistol, double rip close, waggle 117 switch, Y leak rail.
Great stuff, David. You know the only thing that's dirtier than pre-snap eye candy is mid-play eye candy.
Yeah.
That's even harder because it's working. You got 3 different things going on at 3 different levels. And, especially down and distance-wise, I think that was another interesting thing there. When you feel screen, you react to screen.
Sure.
You're taught this on defense. And the slow play, to me, Like, I don't understand. If I was an offensive coordinator, I would run some version of tight end delay, right? You have the play where they fall down and get back up. We watched Auburn with Philip Lutzenkirk and score with, speaking of the Iron Bowl, with Cam Newton on the comeback on it. I would run it at least once a game. Mm-hmm. It is one of the hardest plays to defend because your eyes are working so fast. Now, if you're in man, right, and you don't get you have man eyes, it's a lot easier, right? It kind of takes care of itself. But if you're in any sort of zone coverage, like, oh my God, it's so difficult to be able to scan that fast because your body is used to reacting to seeing screen, right? Whether that's a defensive lineman that, I'm kind of free going through. So, I mean, it's Steve Sarkisian. He probably on the headset said, hey, we're about to score a touchdown on this play. This feels like one of those situations.
Another interesting thing is usually you want a really hard play fake, right, from your running back and your quarterback on the action. But here you're being taught, be very lazy on this play fake, right? Because you don't want too many of the defenders coming to that side of the ball when you're trying to run a tight end leak behind it. So you have the running back kind of a little bit lazy in the back half, and everybody thinks they've shut down screen. Oh, you think you've shut down screen, then there's a rail route behind it.
Yeah, that play was absolutely delicious. And speaking of delicious, look, I drink coffee in the morning. I think most of us probably drink coffee in the morning. If you're listening to this show right now, you probably got a coffee in your hand. All right, everybody knows we love Black Rifle Coffee. If you don't have time to brew your coffee, I know a lot of people don't. Their life's an up-tempo offense, right? A little bit of Josh Heupel, a little bit of Jeff Lebby. You need Black Rifle Coffee's ready-to-drink cans. They're perfect for people who need it quickly. You got Vanilla Bomb, Salt, which is probably the name of that play that Steve Sarkisian just ran. I know you gave it, but I'm sure he has some cool name for it. Salted Caramel, Mocha, and Vanilla Caramel. It's a veteran-founded coffee company operated by principled men and women who honor those who protect, defend, and support our country. And with every purchase you make, they give back. David, I know you've got more roasts than Jeffrey Ross.
I got a new one in this week at the house. I got the Christmas roast.
Ooh.
The 30 presents out or something. So
Nice.
I had it all weekend. It was awesome. But right here on me, I've got little Blackbeard's Delight and some Headless Horsemen.
What do you got over there?
I got a gunship and a llama with a machine gun on it.
Well, I'm horrified. So save money and drink America's coffee. Go to blackriflecoffee.com. Use our promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, at checkout for 10% off your one-time purchase or first coffee club order. That's blackriflecoffee.com. Promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, for 10% off. You can find it in grocery and convenience stores near you, and that's great. But let's go to blackriflecoffee.com and use that promo code. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee. All right, boys, right before we get to calls, let's give out a couple best bets. What are we liking this week? Can I start?
What do you guys like? Please start.
Number one, Michigan minus 2.5. Okay.
Okay, so you go bet it down.
I'm telling you, I'm going to see if it'll bleed a little
Bet it up. Bet it up.
No,
Bet it up,
I'll
Jay.
see if it'll bleed
Bet it
a
up.
little bit more. Like I said, it's minus 115, Ohio State plus 3.5. But when I'm a looking, and I'm really a liking.
I didn't like it.
All right. 2, actually. Tennessee minus 27. Senior day at home against Vanderbilt, who couldn't score against just about anybody right now with that offensive line. Obviously, Tennessee's upset about the way it went down against Georgia at home. You want to get back. It's Vandy. It's an in-state rivalry. I'm trying to really respect Vanderbilt right now. I just don't see a way in which Vandy's able to score. This is a get-back game for Tennessee, a get-right game. I think this is an absolute blowout. Then I'm looking at this Oklahoma State hosting BYU game, right? Oklahoma State's a 17-point favorite. I don't know how BYU is going to stop them on offense. This is not, and you look at Oklahoma State, they're still in the fight with the Big 12 a little bit now. So I like Oklahoma State big. I don't trust BYU offensively. I know Oklahoma State's been Jekyll and Hyde this year, the first half of the year compared to the last half of the year. They're basically the guy from Split. But Oklahoma State, don't think you'd be crazy to get that thing down to 16.5, right? 17, just not a great number. I think they may run through them like the plague.
I like those. What do you like?
We're going to start it off. Give me them Rebels. Minus 10.5.
Jackson
like it
Dart.
too.
Did you see that, though? Jackson
What?
Dart. They're worried about his
not
availability a little bit. There's some injury. I don't know how much gamesmanship this is, but assuming Jackson Dart plays, what are they,
Luckily,
minus
they have
11?
like 3 former starting quarterbacks.
Well, yeah, you got 9 of them.
Yeah, there's like 9 of them on there.
Yeah.
I still like it. Yeah, give me 10.5. TCU plus 10.5. Oklahoma can't beat anybody by 10.5.
You don't like the over in that one?
What is that?
63?
63.5? No, it's too much. I don't like it.
Really?
Yeah. What's the status on Dylan Gabriel?
I think he should play.
DG. I mean, if DG's out there, maybe. But look, Oklahoma's defense, I mean, could tackle a math problem right now. TCU plus 10.5, playing okay football. I like that. The Iowa-Nebraska under 26.5. It's too much. It's too much. This game will be
so nuts.
This game will be 10-7. That's what Chubba Purdy, Brock's brother, has done some good things. And look, I mean, I like LSU minus 11.5 against A&M at home.
Yeah.
I think LSU's going to Jay Daniels' last game at home. It's going to be a how many points can we score?
Well, this is another thing I was talking about with Andy yesterday. It's like that Texas A&M defense, they're really elite. Yes, they're elite. I have watched Jaden Daniels rip apart elite defense. There's not a defense out there that can stop this man. With Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, who I think is the best receiver. You can say what you want about Marvin Harrison Jr. Give me Malik Neighbors.
He's having the
some
better
people
year
think that's crazy. Some people think that's crazy. I'd love to have both of them or either one of them.
Yeah.
Be a great situation. But I think Malik, man, he's got some Jamar Chase in him.
I just think Marvin Harrison has Cal McCord thrown to him. That's what I think.
Well,
I mean, he's going to be a top 2 pick.
No, Marvin Harrison is going to go before Malik Neighbors. I'm not saying that. I don't think Malik Neighbors gets enough cred.
I would agree
Marvin
with
Harrison
that.
Gets all the cred, and Malik Neighbors doesn't get enough credit. I like Brian Thomas.
If I'm Texas A&M defense, I'm going on strike. This sucks.
Yeah, huddle up.
I'm sick of it. This sucks. Now Jay Daniel has to come in here. I have to watch that.
Actually, I like that over. The LSU Texas A&M over 66.
Yeah.
Just take it. I like that. Yeah, Iowa, Nebraska, we're just setting new records every week. So now it's 26.5. I have to take it. I think I've hit 7 straight of these. At some point it won't hit, but I just want to say I was a part of the lowest under on record, really.
Well, hell, the first time I saw this, I saw the minus 2.5. I thought that was the over-under. And to be honest with you, I was leaning under.
That's too much.
I was leaning under. But the money is on the under at 26.5. Minus 112 right now on DraftKings.
Georgia Southern plus 8.5 at Appalachian State. Rivalry game.
Look, Auburn money line plus 460 right now.
Oh, stop.
Come on!
Stop.
Put your money where your mouth is.
I will not do that.
What else do you like?
How about Louisville, Kentucky under 50.5? You guys like that one?
Yeah. What was Louisville? Minus 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, I look at this Texas Tech and Texas over at 53.5 with the way that Texas's secondaries played and Morton kind of coming on for Texas Tech and the way they operate. And I think Texas should be able to score a decent amount against that Tech defense. It just seems like a game that's high 30s to low 30s or mid 30s to 30. I think this hits over 53.5. I like that a lot.
What about the Missouri?
I just was going to ask.
I mean, I don't know if I take the 7.5, but I'd take it down to 6.
What if it gets to 6.5? I saw it at minus 7 this morning against Arkansas, and they're on the road.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get the same to 6.5, I mean, I like that and the over, to be honest.
Well, it was announced too that Sam Pittman will be returning, so there may be a little jolt of energy, right, in that Arkansas program. But Missouri's just, between Luther Burden and Weiss Jr. and Schrader and Brady, somebody cooked here. It's just KJ Jefferson sometimes can just freak out. Like you'll see the way they played against Auburn and Mississippi State, and then all of a sudden
LSU,
you'll see Florida. Yeah. Like the way they played at Florida. It's just that they're so hit or miss, and that's one of the reasons why.
What do y'all think about the Avengers versus Georgia Tech?
Oh, I got that.
Whatever
got
Georgia is.
Georgia minus 24, I've already got that. And I'm taking Utah minus 21.5 against Colorado. Gave you the benefit of the doubt last week against Washington State.
Murdered.
Look what you did to me. Yeah. Let's go Utes.
And Utah's coming off a game which they got their ass kicked by Arizona. And Kyle Whittingham, he can get him back quickly. Anything else y'all like on the board here before we go to calls?
That's what I like.
What do y'all thought about the UTSA Tulane game? Tulane minus 3 over under 51.5. This is a huge football game.
I was thinking Tulane.
If I'm going to take anything there, it's Tulane. I'm going to get him at minus 2.5. Well, why not? Michael Pratt, best Pratt since Chris. We want to know what you think. What's your best bet? Let us know in the comments. We're going to get to the chat too, but let's get to calls, Dave.
All right, we got Trey on the line. Trey, how's everything in Atlanta?
Tra?
Hey, guys. How you doing this morning?
Doing
What's
good,
up,
man.
Trey?
How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I was going to call in and talk about the Heisman, but then I heard your segment yesterday about the FSU situation and all that, and I got to digging, and I found out. Do you know how many people are left over on the committee from last year?
How many?
By the way, there's 10 people.
Okay.
So 10 people. So I started looking last year because we saw some discrepancies this year, like Texas over Oklahoma. Why was Texas ranked over Oklahoma after they lost? Well, it didn't make a lot of sense. Missouri over LSU, even after LSU beat them, right? These sort of things didn't make sense until you look last year. Then you saw the same things happening last year. They had Alabama over Tennessee, at the end of the year, even though Tennessee beat them. And the reason was because they were without their quarterback. So some of their criteria is, a hurt player that has in that sort of situation, a running back or quarterback or something like that. So while I don't think it's right, I mean, put Previs out of right, Texas beat Alabama. That's the last spot. Well, unfortunately, even though Alabama would beat them like a drum, I think right now, Texas beat them. FSU is undefeated. Let's just say they go undefeated and they win by a last-minute field goal 2 times in a row. Should they get in? Yes. However, we've seen the shenanigans from this committee, and it's not just this year.
Yeah.
It's last year, too.
Trey,
it's 2 years in a row of shenanigans.
Trey, we have, but there's a caveat there. That wasn't the last ranking that came out. Like, we don't know what would have happened, even with if Hendon Hooker didn't get or still got hurt and Tennessee went out instead of getting blown out by South Carolina in those games they lost at the end. We still don't know for that last ranking. You see what I'm saying? We have no tangible evidence of this is the last week. Would they move them? Would they have moved a Tennessee team ahead of Alabama that won the head-to-head if Hendon Hooker or if Tennessee didn't lose that game to South Carolina? It kind of helped the committee a little bit. I wonder on the last week, because look, before the last week, let's be honest, does any of it really matter?
No.
It doesn't matter at all. You don't have to, put your what's on the table until that last week. So that to me is where until I see that, go ahead.
I agree. And I guess what I'm saying is the other point, too, is it was for like 8 and 9, right? It had nothing to do with the playoffs at that point, other than maybe giving credit to Georgia, whoever, the teams that beat them and like, oh, yeah, it makes them look better. I totally get that. But the other thing, too, is the TCU situation. Like, again, those were 2-loss versus 1-loss team, even though they lost to a 2-loss team. So, again, I'm just saying there are a lot of we can look back and say, hey, there's a track record of this. If it was a one-time thing, it's happened twice this year already. Shenanigans last year. We've seen this committee do weird things, and the criteria doesn't always jive. They kind of pick and choose. And again, that's why I look back, because I thought if it was a 1-year thing, I'm like, okay, what's a 1-year thing? But then I counted, and someone else can double check this, but I pulled up both years, and there are 10 people, including the committee chair, who are the same from year end and year last year to this year. So it's worth looking at.
That's an interesting
worth examining point. Because again, if you can make the case that like FSU didn't play a lot of good people, they only have one really good win, maybe two if they beat Louisville, right? If they were to beat them, but like they're without the quarterback now, so can we use that as a crutch? I'm not saying it's right. Like I think FSU is a great team, and I've loved watching them this year. Some of my best friends, big FSU fans. I'm just saying it wouldn't shock me seeing what they did last year and what they've done this year. That's kind of my point. So
nothing would surprise me. To me, the criteria is contradiction.
The criteria is ratings. Yeah, that's what the criteria.
Yeah, it's a TV show.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Trey. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, Tra.
Hold down Atlanta for us. All right, let's go to Michael in Texas. Michael, how you doing?
Morning, guys.
Morning, Mike.
David, it's fine. We finally made it. It's the week.
It's here, buddy. Saturday, high noon.
Finally made it.
Lock the gate.
Yes, sir. And I know you mentioned back-to-back seasons and undefeated. This is also the third straight year where both teams are going into this matchup top 5. So that the rivalry's back. It's back as it should be.
It's a lot of fun, man.
And I think I would say all Wolverines and Buckeyes fans listening will agree with me on that. Mm-hmm. So I want to give my quick breakdown on this game. I've watched almost all the games this year, and just seeing how we've been operating, especially the last 2 weeks. I get what you guys are saying about trying to hold some things back for this game, but I want to maybe push back on that a little bit and say, well, I don't know if you guys are talking about the weather for one of the games. I think the Oregon State game. I don't know if you guys have been seeing the weather forecast for this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be
30s.
cold.
It's going to be cold.
Snow. It'll be like 2021 all over again. So my thinking is Sharon Moore is probably kind of getting these guys ready to kind of run that same style again. I mean, I get what you're saying, David, about, you can't do that when you beat Ohio State, but if they can't do much offensively because of the weather holding them down, then it's just going to be a game where you just have to run the ball, play good defense, and possess it. And I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. Well, in that, if we're going to talk about weather and quarterbacks, I don't think J.J. McCarthy's the story. I think it's Kyle McCord. So not only are you playing in the game for your first time on the road in the big house, now you're playing it in snow. And I feel like that favors Michigan, that style of game. Michigan, again, the best way I can describe them, the one word that keeps coming to mind, and I mean this in a positive sense, is smushy. Like, it's not sexy, it's not flashy, but it's effective. Like, that, to me, that fits what Michigan wants. That's how Michigan has beaten Ohio State. You know, you have a couple big plays, everything else, smush festival.
Well, Michael, remember 2 years ago in 2021 when it snowed the whole game and Hassan Haskins had 5 touchdown runs and, you know, it was like, hey, that was perfect for Michigan's style of football. And then last year, everybody was looking at the weather report like, hey, if Michigan's going to go on the road and win at the Horseshoe, something they hadn't done in 20 years, remember we even talked with Steve Dace about this, then we have to have freezing cold weather. That's the only way we can win. And it was just something that Michigan fans are thinking like, we hadn't won this game consecutively in so long. That's what we need. Ended up being a bright, sunny day and turned into a shootout late. J.J. McCarthy's throwing multiple touchdown passes to Cornelius Johnson and to Colston Loveland. So Michigan has proven now to win in different ways against this team, which I think is fantastic. I saw what you saw. Of course, I did check the weather. It's supposed to be in the 30s, supposed to be cold. I just think that it's an all-hands-on-deck situation. Both teams have set up multiple plays throughout the year to be able to call them at opportune moments this week.
Well, now you can win a game in another way without your head coach on the sideline.
Yeah, and that'll be which look, if you're Ryan Day and you lose to an interim head coach, it's
They'll
not
run him out of town.
Yeah, and which is interesting because I did a deep dive on this yesterday. I was looking at Lincoln Riley, but just so happens it popped up. Ryan Day has the highest winning percentage of any coach in Power 5 football. Yeah. And yet every time he loses to Michigan, they talk about firing this guy, even though he's a field goal away from going to the national championship, which that should say everything you need to know about the rivalry, right, Michael?
Yeah, it does. And one more thing I'll say, I think it's probably going to come. If it goes away, I think it'll go. It'll probably be like last year, how Ohio State came out on fire, punched us in the mouth, try to get on top of us. But it's probably going to be one of those where as long as Michigan continues to just kind of match them blow for blow and keep it close, as you guys have said multiple times, gravity eventually will take over. Yep. Running game will get going. And I don't know if it's been mentioned, but day of the game, it'll be Blake Corum's birthday. He'll be finally healthy 100% for the first time in this rivalry.
I'm happy for Blake.
And yeah, so this is it's all. I mean, I'm not saying it could happen, but it's all kind of lining up for him to have a career day in his last game of the big house. So
that's cool. It'll be my mom's birthday as well, November 25th. So it'll be a good day. Thank you, Michael.
Early birthday.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
Mike.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Smoking Gator in Tampa. Smoking Gator, how you doing?
What's up, Crane Company? How are you guys?
What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
Well, guys, listen. I know you think I'm calling in to talk about Florida FSU, but I'm not. I'm saving that for later. No, what I'm going to talk about is actually perfectly relevant to the show today. Mm-hmm. Marvin Harrison Jr., get ready for this. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the most overrated receiver in the country, and possibly the most overrated player in the country. Yeah, I hear you whistling, but hear me out, okay? And more importantly, Ohio State fans, hear me out. I can hear you typing furiously on your keyboards, okay? But just let me explain. Do I think MHJ will be a great pro? Absolutely. Is he a great college receiver? Obviously, yes. But the fact that he's talked about like he's the best receiver in the country is an absolute joke. Let's take a look at his numbers, okay? He's 10th in receiving yards, 35th in receptions, 37th in yards per reception, 2nd in receiving touchdowns. Not only does he not lead in any major receiver category, he's not even top 5 other than touchdowns, which is obviously an important stat, yes. But if you're going to be considered the best receiver in the game, then shouldn't you lead in at least one major category? And you bring up Kyle McCord being his quarterback, but Kyle McCord still has 22 touchdowns and 4 interceptions on the season. Compare that to Malik Washington, who's 2nd in the country in receiving yards and who plays on a Virginia team whose quarterbacks have a combined 17 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. And here's another thing, too. MHJ has been held to 30 receiving yards or less 4 times. Compare that to other top receivers in the game, like Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, and Troy Franklin, who all have been held to 30 receiving yards or less 0 times. Again, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great receiver. and he will more than likely be the best receiver in the pros from this current group of college receivers. But he is not the best college receiver, and if he does win the Biletnikoff, it will mainly be because of his name.
Smoking Gator, number one, great call, buddy, David. It's great to hear from you. Two things. One, I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. should win the Biletnikoff, right? I think there's guys ahead of him when you look at the numbers that should win it. I think two things can be true at once. He shouldn't win the Biletnikoff, but he'd be him or Malik Neighbors, right? And I think Malik is closer to Marvin than what other people think. I do think Marvin is the best wide receiver in college, though. I think those two things can be true. He doesn't have the numbers. You can put some of it on Kyle McCord, right? And the style of kind of them protecting him a little bit. I think you can put a little bit on him getting doubled basically every game. I think what we have to think about in the NFL is it is the same sport, but it's a different game, right? You have a lot more weapons around you, I think, even with Egbuka and Stover, right? You typically have a quarterback that's an NFL quarterback. You are going up against NFL defenses, but they can't touch you past 5 yards. Like, it's a totally different game. So Marvin Harrison Jr. at 6'4", watching him move, get in and out of breaks, he just does everything so well. He projects so well to that next level. We haven't seen a lot of guys that can move like that and do those things and have that bloodline that he has. Don't think that doesn't add to it as well. I don't think he should win the Biletnikoff, but I do think he's the best wide receiver in college football.
Blaine, you think he'll win the Biletnikoff?
No, I don't, but I think Marvin Harrison is clearly the best receiver in college football. I mean, if you've watched this kid play, there's a reason he's going to be a top 3 pick. What can this kid not do? All right, you can't penalize him. Just like the same thing with Jaden Daniels. You can't penalize him for having Kyle McCord at quarterback, all right? He's getting doubled most of every play. Go look at his numbers last year with all those receivers, all right? He led those receivers with C.J. Stroud in yards. So don't get fooled, okay? Stats carry you so far, all right? Projections of who this guy is, this guy probably will be the best, might win Rookie of the Year next year. He's that good. He's a generational receiver. And whatever NFL, this guy's got all-pro written all over him. Written all over him. There's nothing he can't do. I think Malik is great. Malik Neighbors, he's going to be a day one guy too. But this guy's different. He's built different. The way he plays is different. There's not one man on this earth, maybe a couple guys, you put Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, that can cover this man one-on-one. I used to do this for a living, recruit guys for a living who do this. This kid is different. I promise you.
But I get that Kyle McCord's no C.J. Stroud right now in his career, but he's still 66% completion percentage, 2,800 yards this year. He has 22 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. I think you hit the nail on the head where maybe, not throwing him into the fire right away, especially early in the season when you had some of those non-conference wins. Maybe that's where Marvin Harrison Jr. could have racked up some more of those yards. But, I just want to make sure we understand Kyle McCord has had a good season. There's a reason the Buckeyes are still undefeated.
For sure. And but David, I can see what you're saying from the hype, right, of not winning the Biletnikoff. I agree with you. You shouldn't win the Biletnikoff, but I do think he's going to be the first receiver taken, and he needs to be the first.
Appreciate it, David. Thank you, man.
Always appreciate it. I'll see you in the chat, buddy.
All right, I want to try and get to everyone, so let's make these calls quick. We got Jack in Mobile. Jack, how you doing?
Jack, be nimble. Jack, be quick.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
What's up, buddy?
Morning.
Before I give my Iron Bowl score, like Jake expressed it last week, Florida fans need to worry about keeping their own talent before criticizing guys outside the conference. Because Auburn already got one D lineman, they're coming for the second one, and they're coming hard apparently.
Yeah.
So after avoiding everybody at church, after avoiding half of my work shift, because I work with almost all Alabama fans, I started punching in the numbers. Now, the defense didn't perform as well as I wanted them to, but they stayed in that median. Going into that game, New Mexico State was averaging around 28.75 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, that bumps Auburn's average points given up. But I like the low number that I had in my head. I think it's going to be a knock them down, drag it out fight. I would like to see Hugh implement, honestly, New Mexico State's game plan. Keep the ball, control it, milk the clock out, don't turn the ball over. With that being said, 27-24, either way, but depending on what I hear from Auburn's practice, I'm going Auburn.
I love it.
Jack, we'll see. Isn't that the thing that guts you, like, as a fan? Like, and that's what Ace, with the players. And look, at the end of the day, talent typically wins. Auburn's not nearly as talented as they will be. That's why I think everybody that's panicking, over this, you do need a little bit of perspective. Not saying that it's acceptable, but see, that's what guts you, especially being an in-state rivalry. That's what I talk about all the time. I got to go to work with these people. I got to go to church with these people. New Mexico State?
You got to go home.
I got to hear about this all week.
You got to
go home after that.
Go home. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's what it means so much, man. Like, when y'all blow it, you blow it for everybody. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. You're the only ones that can control it. Y'all are the only ones that are playing. Y'all are the only ones that are coaching. So it is on you to be able to do it. But in that same thought, I always say, and especially in year one, the standard should never, the lowering of the standard should never be accepted, but reality should be accepted. But it's tough to sit here and say the reality of it is that New Mexico State is just better than Auburn, and Auburn didn't just look past them and throw peanut butter and jelly at him, even though, like I said, I know the coaches were bashing that in their head, but when y'all blow it, you blow it for everybody.
Well, I'll kind of go to a C.J. Stroud quote here. Pressure is a privilege.
Yeah, it is.
All right, that's what it is. And look, we can talk about schematics and what the offense needs to do and what Peyton Thorne needs to do. Y'all just need to go out there and hit someone in the damn mouth. All right, that's what you need to do. You establish physicality in this game. They might all be 5 stars. All right, we might be 3 stars, 2 stars. It don't matter. But once you put them pads on and you hit every damn thing that moves, those stars start to sink down a little bit, and it becomes down to earth really quick. So level of physicality, you got to know what it means to put on that Auburn jersey.
Appreciate it, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to Steve in Ohio. Steve, how you doing, man?
Stevie.
Hey!
What's up, Steve?
Steve.
Okay, I know I don't have a lot of time, so Jake, I just want to thank you for that homage to Woody Hayes in your open, where we couldn't go for 3.
Yeah, you like that, huh? That's one of that quote and the Lou Holtz one when he was at William and Mary and they asked him why he lost. And he said, we had too many Marys and not enough Williams are 2 of my favorite quotes of all time.
Okay, I'm just going to hit you with my Michigan Week jokes, and then I'll get off the line.
All right, hit us with it, Stevie.
How do you make Michigan cookies?
How?
You steal them.
You put them in a bowl and beat them for 3 hours.
All right, thanks for calling in, Steve.
Hey, Stevie, that's not bad, dude. Steve, that's a good one. I get it.
I've got more.
Go ahead.
How do you get a Michigan graduate off of your porch?
You pay him when he gets done sweeping.
No, you pay him for the pizza.
That's pretty good.
Okay, and the last one, a guy flunked out of Ohio State, and he transferred to Michigan. And when he did that, he raised the average GPA for both schools.
Well done, Steve.
Oh, Steve.
Well done, Stevie.
Man.
Man, I love this week.
Thank you.
Absolutely love it.
It's going to be a fun one, Steve. Call in next week, brother.
Definitely. We'll see. Unless Ohio State loses.
Don't forget about Cade Stover.
Yeah.
It's his
said that.
final college game.
Yep. Like I said, the best Stover since Russell.
Season game.
I like him, man. I like him.
The Stover.
Big dog.
Appreciate it, Steve.
Yeah, he
Go
was
blue.
About 20 minutes from me.
Really?
Hey, there you go.
Nice. Little home connection there.
Yeah,
Love
he
it,
went
man.
to Lexington High School. That's about 20 minutes from me.
Nice, man. Well, Steve, thanks for calling in, buddy, as usual.
Thanks, Steve. All right, guys, that's it for today. Ethan, Jared, y'all call in tomorrow. Everyone else on the line, y'all call in tomorrow.
Hey, Jared, if this is Freeway Jared, man, that picture at the Maui basketball tournament with us while you were watching Cranny
that him
Company
from
was
Seattle
dope.
yesterday?
Yeah.
Is that wait, who is it, Jared?
Yeah, it may be. We have different Jareds that call in. I don't know. Yeah, I know we went to Jared, though. All right, before I go to the board.
Call in tomorrow, please.
What's going on the Booster Club?
All right, guys, breaking news here. Matty asked 19, a lot of people in the chat have said this. Steelers have just fired their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by that move.
No, I'm not either. Not either. They're still 6-4, though,
Sounds
amazingly.
Still 6-4. It sounds like it's been, a couple of weeks in the making there. The question is it a Matt Canada problem, though, or is it a Kenny Pickett problem?
I think it's a little bit of both. We'll find out, though, who more of it was. You know, you get new blood in there and see if maybe the common denominator is the same.
Let's go to James Barnett. He wants to know, how does Michigan and Ohio State change the 14 playoff? Someone has to lose. Do they both still make it in?
No, I don't think only one
this year.
team makes it in. Not this year. Not under this circumstance.
All right, let's get to the donations here. Might as well knock them out. Tyrese, $2 donation. Appreciate it, brother. If Beck stays, bet the farm on his Heisman odds next year.
I don't think that's crazy, but I don't know if Carson Beck's going to stay even with a loaded quarterback class. He's been in college forever. I would not be surprised to see him go. If he does return, I think Brock Vandagriff is gone. I think, Gunnar Stockton may be gone. But again, if you're Georgia, you recruited at an unbelievably high level, and also getting Carson Beck back would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go, Mr. Johnny. Mr. Johnny, $5 donations. He says he thinks the Longhorns win in Austin in overtime.
Really? Well, I'm going to take that over at 53.5. So that's a good sign for me. That's a good sign for me.
Go to Cuspo Jimbo, $5 donation. Don't forget about Vandy, Tennessee this Saturday.
Yeah.
Huge stakes.
Tennessee.
Go Commodores. Hashtag Rivalry Week. Hashtag SEC Classic.
Yeah. Hashtag I'm taking Tennessee minus 27.
All right, just go to Justin Madness, $2 donation. Love you guys, man. Great show.
Thanks, Justin.
Go Buckeyes.
It's gonna be. I'm so excited for this week, and big games on Friday, boys.
Yeah,
big games on Friday. I gotta get my ass up to Mississippi quick.
Friday at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I know
it deserves to be a night.
I hate it too, but
why do y'all do that?
It's always the case.
Why though? I know that used to not have lights, right? Isn't that why they do it at 11?
That's when it's at Michigan Stadium, but even when it's away, last year.
Well, has anybody told y'all it's 2023?
Taking away something from the fans and even the players too.
Do I need to give y'all a Ben Franklin documentary to realize,
hey, don't put me in charge. There'll be a couple things. I think we should have an all-color matchup. Wolverines wear blue.
I'm with that.
OSU wears
I'm with that.
Color rush matchup.
You guys should do that too. Auburn can wear
with
blue.
that 100%.
Alabama, let's have an all-color matchup at night under the lights.
Yeah.
If we can't do it when we're undefeated, when can we do it?
I just want to wear uniforms that blend in with the field.
I agree. Let's go to Thomas Mask. $5 donation. Appreciate it, Thomas. Who's the best in the AFC South, and why is it the Texans? Hashtag Stroud Boys.
They're good.
I tell you what, we all love D'Amico Ryans and that hire. And I do want to say this. Please stop comparing what the Texans have to what the Panthers have in Bryce Young, because it's not even close. I see some people are talking. Zach Wilson, I think you can say bust. I think at this point, I know enough to say bust. When Tim Boyle's taken over for you, calling Bryce Young a bust this short into his career with the roster they have is comical. It's clown behavior. But I'm not betting against C.J. Stroud and the Texans anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I really don't care.
Cardinals covered that 5.5, though. Appreciate it.
Yeah, they did. That was big.
Let's go to Tyrese, $2 donation. Appreciate it, Ty. UGA versus Bama will be the de facto natty. Hashtag dogs by 90.
I don't think that's a crazy thing.
By 90?
By 90.
I don't think that's a crazy thing to think. With Georgia and Alabama, you can make a great case for them being the top two teams in the country right now, when we're playing right now. Now, earlier in the year, no.
Let's go to Broken Sergeant with a $2 donation. Appreciate it. He says, thoughts on Kareem Jackson's suspension. I believe Kareem got suspended for 4 games.
Yeah.
For that hit on Josh Dobbs.
Well,
I thought it was a fine hit.
Well, it wasn't just for the hit on Josh Dobbs. It was a pattern of behavior. Mm-hmm. This is his second suspension for it. I thought that was a clean. What am I supposed to do as a defender when Josh Dobbs is running the ball and I'm trying to stop you? You are a ball carrier. But I have watched Kareem Jackson many, many times. And look, I love aggression. I'm a defensive guy. I have watched him launch into guys. I watched him do it earlier this year in the end zone against, I think it was Logan Thomas from the Commanders. Just stuff you can't do. Almost like the Boston College guy the other day. Just obviously blatant launching into targeting. I've watched Kareem Jackson do that multiple times. I understand setting the tone, but I don't like the suspension for the Dobbs hit, but the stuff before, I can understand.
All right, let's go to White Boy Magic with a $2 donation. The White Boy's got that magic. He says, I'm going to laugh when Texas gets in over Bama. Well, if Texas wins out and Bama wins out, you would think they would, right?
Again, I mean, meritocracy has to matter. Head-to-head has to matter. The regular season has to matter. Whether it's week 1 or whether it's week 10, it doesn't matter.
Let's go to Coffee Guy Sports, $5 donation. I know we ran out of time last week. What are your thoughts with UFC and Bud Light?
Man, I need more time. Golly.
How about I'll add it to tomorrow?
Yeah, let's add it to tomorrow.
Okay.
Coffee Guy, we will get to this. We got a minute 30
That's
seconds.
my bad.
Man.
Yeah, I
got
should have brought it up. That's all the donations for to.
We've had it on here to talk about.
Just rivalry. It's a crazy week to talk about, to be honest with you, right now with all the games going on. But our Booster Club bets are brought to you by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, because new customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score $150 instantly in bonus bets. It's only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code BOOSTER, BOOSTER. The crown is yours. Here's what I got tonight. A little bit of action. David, sorry, I did not write your bets up there. I know you texted them to me. Give me the Bowling Green, Western Michigan over 52. Who the hell knows? It's the MAC. Been hot in college football, which means these two probably won't hit, at minus 108. And then Eastern Michigan, Buffalo in the game you can't wait not to watch, over 35 at minus 110.
So I have that same one at the top there. Bet Buds, Bowling Green, Western Michigan over 52, minus 108. Then I'm going to take Buffalo minus 5.5, minus 110.
Like it.
All right. I am taking the over in the BG Western Michigan game. The under, 52.5. Jake, you're taking the over, right? It's
at 52.
Minus 115. It's a lot of points for these two teams. And I'm going to switch up with the over with the EMU and Buffalo. Over 35.5. Weird thing about Buffalo, they're leading the conference in passing. They just can't.
Dude, it's weird.
They just
you
can't
watch them like
points.
it's
really
weird.
strange.
It's weird. All right, what does Ace got? What does Ace want tonight?
Ace money.
Oh, wait, we'll tweet it out. We'll tweet it out.
Hold on, I got it right here.
You got it.
Yeah, you tell me about
He
it.
said he wants Bowling Green money line minus 130. He said he believes in Scott Loeffler. And then he wants the Buffalo Eastern Michigan under 34.5 minus 108.
Ace.
All right.
It's time for new markers.
It is.
Hashtag new markers.
I'm sure I can make it from across the
studio. Off.
Oh, it's right there, though.
Hey, a little bit more touch,
it's right there, though.
More touch.
Well, I got to navigate in between. Sometimes you got to throw the whole shot cover, too.
You don't have to yell at me.
All right. Great job in the chat today.
Quickly, let's go to John Edward. He wants to know our thoughts on Juice Wells coming back to
biggest commitment South Carolina's gotten all recruiting year. And you say, Jake, he's already on the roster. Believe me, I know. I think he's number 12 on the big board. Him coming back is huge with Leggett, who I believe is coming back.
Legett's coming back?
I believe Legett's coming back. I think he may be a sophomore. I need to get my boy Chris from the Spurs Up Show to tell me that. Huge. Now, listen. Can Lenoris Sellers be the dude? Can he be the dude a lot of these South Carolina fans are thinking he can be? Because if he can, it's going to come down to what they do in the transfer portal up front and how many guys have developed. That's South Carolina's biggest problem. I'm watching Spencer Rattler. I watch Juice Wells when he's healthy. I watch Leggett and these guys run around. But it's the trenches on offense and defense. That is going to dictate whether Shane Beamer stays at South Carolina for 3 more years or not. To me, that's what it's going to come down to because it always comes down.
All right, let's get to the poll.
Poll.
Who wins the game? Michigan or the Ohio State University?
Give me Michigan, 59%, David.
That feels right. Michigan, 60%. I'll go over.
Michigan, 63%.
Wow.
Right. You were right on it.
Ohio State.
You were right on it.
We're all over it.
7%.
Appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure, hey, go buy that new hoodie. It helps out the show a ton. We got some other stuff in there, candles, all type of stuff in the merch store. We're going to be adding more, including one thing I'm really excited about. Also, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Have a fantastic Tuesday. Getting ready for Thanksgiving. Enjoy the action tonight as we lead up to the big games in Rivalry Week starting on Friday. Y'all are the best. And like the chances of me trusting Kyle McCord over J.J. McCarthy, we're going. Ooh, gone.